We're here at the Saline of Rive Sainte-Marie. This whole area is actually covered by 3 different plantations. Hermanus, JanKok, and all the way in the back there, Rive Sainte-Marie. These were all salt-producing plantations which were important for the Dutch at the time. If we look in this corner and also over there, there's a lot of fine mud which came down during the time. And this mud is excellent material for flamingos to build their conical nests. However, they did try it about 30 years ago, but there was too much disturbance. It's too close to the road and too many people passing by, so they stopped breeding here.
Nowadays, Rive Sainte-Marie has become an important recreational area where people can hike and mountain bike. It also receives a lot of guided tours that visit the area mainly for flamingos. Like the dam at Mausenberg, Rive Sainte-Marie is also a Ramsar site. This means that it is a wetland of international importance.
In the wintertime, when migrating shorebirds will come here, you may see, particularly early in the morning, a lot of dawitzes, sandpipers, willets, and other small wading birds feeding in the mud here.
This area is relatively undisturbed and comprises a saline of approximately 130 hectares, surrounded by mudflats and woodland vegetation.
Actually, when you walk quite slowly and quietly, you can go a little bit into the saline. You have to be careful, look at the birds, see that they're not disturbed, and you slowly get on.
The saline of Rive Sainte-Marie is a foraging habitat for flamingos and several water birds, and is crucial to maintain viable populations of the Caribbean flamingo during the dry season when the larger wetlands of Venezuela, where part of the southern Caribbean flamingo population forages, run dry. The other important foraging habitats on Curacao for the flamingos are the salines of Untitled and Saint-Michel.
To most people, the flamingos are the most conspicuous here. But if you look closely, there are many others. Not only the waders, but also different species of herons, like the great blue heron, the little blue heron, the reddish egret, and the tricolored heron.
The great blue heron is a regular visitor from North America and can be found throughout the year. It is a solitary bird that can be found in freshwater as well as salt pans and inner bays. It is a wary bird that will take flight at any slightest disturbance, so getting closer to this bird is very tricky. There is also a little blue heron, but contrary to what its name implies, it does not look like the great blue heron. The little blue heron is actually very dark blue all over, with a maroon neck and head with a purplish sheen. Its legs and feet are greenish, while the iris is yellow. The base of the bill is gray-blue. It is a regular visitor from both North and South America.
In the back there's a tricolored heron. You can recognize the tricolored heron as it has a very distinct white line in the front of his neck. And that white line goes on into the white belly.
The tricolored heron is a slender, medium-sized heron with a long neck. Like the name reveals, it has 3 colors in its plumage: a gray-blue upper body with white belly and rump, and a reddish-brown breast and neck. The bill is bluish-gray with a dark tip. When breeding, it has elongated white feathers from the head and lace-like reddish-gray plumes from the back and neck. The tricolored heron is a breeding bird from North America and the Caribbean and breeds on the island in mangroves together with the snowy egret. You can often see them actively chasing after prey in shallow waters of lagoons, salt pans, and inner bays.
There's a frigate bird flying over. These relatively large birds are, compared to the size, one of the lightest ones on Earth. And with that they can soar for a long time without much of a wing beat to long distances. But this comes at a cost, because to make them light, they don't have any oil glands. The oil they need to make their feathers waterproof. and so they cannot get into the water. Either they have to grab something from another bird or just tilt their beak in the water and pick up a fish from the surface.
The magnificent frigate bird is called scerci in Papiamentu, which means pair of scissors. This becomes clear when the tail opens and closes like a pair of scissors during certain movements of the bird in flight. The bird has a long, hooked beak and prominently angled wings. The male has a bright red throat pouch that inflates during the breeding season around October. The frigate bird does not breed on Curacao. It is an impressive, large bird that is commonly seen soaring the skies above fishing boats or above schools of fish. It is very adept at picking fish from the surface, and it is also often seen stealing prey from other fish-eating birds. With its great wingspan, it shows off its acrobatics in the air. If you are close to a salinia like Riff St. Marie, it also means you are close to the sea.
Besides wetlands, Curacao has a lot of coastline along the sea. Most of the coastline is rocky, old fossil coral reefs, but it's interspersed with small beaches, usually at the end of gullies, which bring fresh water into the sea when it rains a lot. You can see different species of shorebirds and seabirds along the coastline. Particularly, for instance, inshore, you have usually pelicans flying around, and they dive in relatively shallow water. They'll go down, dive completely, get some fish, fill it up in their pouches, and go on.
The brown pelican is a resident water bird on Curacao that is mostly seen along the coast and prefers shallow waters. We have probably all seen a pelican nosediving for a fish at least once in our lives. After resurging from the water, fish caught are kept in its characteristic long bill and gular pouch. The fish is then swallowed by cocking its head back. Seeing a pelican soaring over the surface of the sea is also a spectacular view.
If you go further outside, you may see the frigate birds, but particularly way out the boobies. Boobies are actually tropical gannets, and they can stay a long time over the sea, and once in a while they rest on rocks along the coast.
The brown booby is quite a common non-breeding resident seabird on Curacao. It rests on rocks near the shore at fixed roosting sites like Guatemala on Curacao. The brown booby has a large, pointed, yellowish-pink bill and yellowish feet. It is a medium-sized brown bird with a white belly sharply separated from its brown chest. There have been occasional sightings of the red-footed booby, cohabitating with the brown booby at their roosting sites. The red-footed booby has red feet, as its name implies. The red-footed booby is the smallest of the boobies that occur in the Caribbean.